And thank you for that good extreme bit of pressure building by saying that you can expect some jokes. If I have to start my presentation with a joke, I would have put up my salary slip as my first slide. Or maybe my marriage certificate. Because every time I look at it, I laugh. So it feels good. But on that count, let me take a quick count of people here. It's way late in the evening. There's been some fabulous presentations, some great technology talks, some extreme bit of value addition on artificial intelligence. I felt completely illiterate sitting there. But the only good point is all the technical stuff that has been spoken about has been spoken about. I feel like a leftist today. When I say leftist, I'm not talking political. I'm going to be talking about what's left, right? Because all the technical stuff and interesting stuff is covered. I have an easy job to talk to you about a lot of interesting thing that matters to me. But before which, let me take a count of people here. Amongst those who are all awake, how many of you follow English? Please put your hand up. All right, if I speak in English. How many of you follow Tamil? Please put your hand up. All right, how many of you follow Hindi? Please put your hand up. All right, so if I speak in Tamil, some of you will understand. If I speak in English, all of you will understand. If I speak in Hindi, I myself will not understand. So let me just keep this maybe English a little bit, but then I'd like to start talking to you in possibly the oldest language known for motherkind. Tamil Thaikku Mudal Vanakkam, Manbingu Amicharukku Irandavathu Vanakkam. A warm good evening to all my friends from academia, all my student members of the placement facilities, and the wonderful family members from ICT for doing such a fabulous job. Now that we've spoken about technology, we've spoken about what's going to drive the industry, what is the new age thing that people have to look at, make them concentrate on AI, robotics, on different innovative ways and blockchain and all of that stuff. Let's come back to the roots and try and talk about some things that are the essence that sometimes get missed out, right? Maybe sometimes get missed out, some of the core things. And I'm here to talk to you about some of those core things, which is adding that extra bit to an ordinary, genuine engineering graduate or a graduate per se. People who are inside this room are great academicians. You've been a part of a great legacy. That's why you've stood the test of time. And having been there, done that, this adding extra to ordinary, what differentiates a hero from the rest of the persons is that extra bit that the hero does at the final bit, right? Having said that, we will uncover some of the myths in my own fun way to try and talk to you about 5 things that matter. Before which, I have to tell you this cute story about me and Chennai Trade Center. I'm a Chennaiite. I grew up in Mylapore. I stay in Bangalore. That's different. But then, during the events time, in 2002, March 21st, my first event when I had to do was at Chennai Trade Center, the very first one, and my job was to come and serve cups of teas to people who are seated in the audience. So I was to fill up tea, come and serve to everybody who was seated in the audience in 2002, and coming all the way to 2022, being invited for the 18th time to speak at Chennai Trade Center on stage. Life has come a big cycle. The purpose of saying that will get translated when I start talking to you about what I intend to talk to you about in my slides, the 5 E's that matter. When I translated this into Tamil, it felt really bad. Tamil la na sollumbodhu vaanga e ottlam appdin sonna nanu. Enada e ottradha pathi pesa poriya appadina 5 E's that we are going to spend for the next 4 years for any engineering student or any art student, for example, that's going to change the perspective with which we are viewing education per se. That's going to change the perspective of which industry. When I go and interview as a part of Capgemini, I've interviewed tons, 20 to 30,000 people over the last 15 years. What do we try and look at the candidate? The way we look at a candidate, the way we perceive something from a candidate has dramatically changed over the period of time. So I'm going to start off with that and talk to you about 5 E's that will have a defining impact in the lifespan of engineering students. And you, all of you here, are going to create the future generation, are going to create 1 million engineers in the next 5 years. So it's important for us to try and talk to us about that 5 softer things, apart from all the magnificent things that matter, which is about core and technology. In that context, the first E I'm going to talk to you about evolution. Evolution is not just about man becoming man from monkey. It's also about the rate of change. It's about everything around us is changing. Are we trying to change with times? And in a manner that's beautifully understood by we Tamilians, I'm going to present to you how a perspective of an engineer has changed over the last 25 years. I'm going to talk to you about 3 interesting movies that actually depicted software engineers or engineers in the last 25 years that changed the perspective. The first one obviously is the foreign groom, the Alaipaide Madhavan, who was actually a software engineer, who started his own startup in 90s, and that was a big thing, and they said, this is a great guy. Compare it with an engineering graduate in the 90s. If you're studying engineering, you're done for life. If you have 2 kids in the family, and both are passionate about sports, they both finish studying engineering first. And then they go on to become whatever they want to become, right? So that has been the norm. Before you do anything that you like to do, you first study engineering. But then that is the era of software engineering. And then they said, oh, engineer, that kind of an expression. That was the you know, the 90s trend. Then came the 2000 trend, and a snap and a movie that's going to make all of you clap is going to be this one, the boss himself. Why am I putting this up? Does anybody know what Rajini's role in the movie was? What architect? What system architect? True hardcore Rajini fans in the house? If not in Chennai, who else will tell this? Senior software architect who's earned $10 less than 200 crores in the US to come here and set up this whole machinery. Forget about the money part, but then that was his job. And that was in 2000s, late 2010, 12 kind of a thing. When the perspective of engineering was changing, that on-site opportunities, go there, earn, come back, and then try and become. So when you say you're an engineer, they say, oh, engineer, fine. That length of that O was shortened a bit during the 2000s, but then the perspective of engineering, the glasses, the evolution became that. Then I'm coming to my current example. I don't know how many of you will relate to this example. The current example is this movie that came out called Magamuni. I don't know how many of you watched it. In this movie, there's one dialogue which summarizes what engineers' perspective today is in the best manner possible. They are in a tuition class in a remote village in Tamil Nadu, where the tuition teacher says, "Ivlo kevalama marks edutena engineering seat kuda kadakkyadu." Which means, if I can do a subtitle for that, if you get so less marks, you won't even get an engineering seat. Now that is the perspective. That is how engineers and engineering seats have evolved over a period of time. We all know that. But my question to all academicians is, are we changing with time? Are we evolving with time? I don't know a next movie that will come 5 years later when robotics and AI and engineering are great, but engineers are the pillars of architecture of this 5 trillion economy that we're talking about, which means we need to stop producing engineers who are of yesterday and today, but start producing engineers who are 5 years down the line, who are ahead of the curve. And that's my point and question to all of you in my first evolution, which is, are we evolving with time? Are you evolving with time? The second one is education. All of us are educationists. We go and do education. That's not what I'm talking to you about. The education that I'm talking to you about is very simple. In one line, I can define it. Do not let your studies interfere with your education. What we study, what we teach at curriculum, what we inculcate is a brilliant part of a curriculum on studies and books. But what happens in the larger perspective of life is education. College, the academicians that we do at college is necessarily a preparation for life, and education doesn't end with that 4 years. So do not let your studies interfere with your education. And the extra curriculum, the extra skill set that you do, Kirti and the team from NASSCOM is here. They do a fabulous job of Uday, Kirti, all of them at sector skills. The additional skills, what are the wings that you're giving them? What are the other feathers that you're giving them is what that's going to redefine this whole market space. It's not about producing branded chapas, engineers after engineers, right after. You all know that. There used to be a time when campus interviews used to happen. You say, sir, computer engineering, software engineer, seat tharren. Sir, after the IT engineering instrument, sir, civil engineer, sir, neevu paravala, unaku seat tharren. This used to be a terminology that time where everybody does engineering and goes up working in Microsoft Excel. But gone are those times. Today's times are changing. The education around the perspective today is setting up labs, having councils like NASSCOM come and support you and enable this whole fulcrum. And more importantly, I'll tell you other case studies that matter to me. When I'll take you 3 examples of candidates. One was Shweta in a college. When we went and interviewed her, we selected her much before the interview got through, because when we saw her CV, she said that she started a YouTube channel because in her village, people didn't have money to go to tuitions. She summarized all the materials that were required for the entrance exam and started telling in Tamil for her YouTube crowd in her village, etc. And that got big, and she got many hundreds of thousands of followers. We decided on her offer much before asking her the first question. That to me is a great education. The second is Kishore. In his 4 years of engineering, he started out an NGO that he used to run to make sure that his campus is plastic free. Man, what a great idea. And then imagine hiring somebody with that kind of a vision who's just a software engineer. My friend also spoke about people who are ready to deploy. These kind of people are with a vision, and this student is with a vision. We had another person who was actually playing the Tamil Nadu Premier League cricket along with the engineering. He scored only 63% in his engineering, but he was playing the TNPL league. We gave him an offer purely because this guy is filled with passion. We need to invest in passionate professionals rather than mark sheet professionals. And that's the objective of education. Do not let your studies interfere with your education. The next one is this one, which is the environment. The next E is the environment. Environment is just not the trees and the roads and the dust and the traffic and all that stuff, but beyond that, it's the aura. It's what we are surrounded with. Swami Vivekananda said, tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are, which is your tribe defines your vibe. So what's the tribe that you're creating? Where you are is equally important as much as what you do. Can somebody tell me what this is? Can somebody read this and tell me what this is? A thin feathered crepe made with rice thinly grinded with spices and usually with fillings smeared with oil or butter on a steaming hot plate. Everybody? Yeah, this is just a dosa's explanation in a 5-star hotel. So your environment, a dosa gets a sophisticated explanation when that fellow is put up in a 5-star hotel. The same kind of an environment is what we need to try. It's not the 5-star environment I'm talking about. It's about valuing ourselves to that grade. You could be studying in a remote college near Thoothukudi in Tamil Nadu, but it doesn't matter at all. You have the power to reach out to NASA and apply for a project and go and study there. We need to enable our student to think about that environment. Your environment cannot scale you down. Yappa 4 வருஷத்துல எப்படியாவது இன்ஜினியரிங் முடிச்சிட்டு ஏதாவது ஒரு கம்பெனியை சீட் வாங்கி திருநெல்வேலி இல்ல மதுரை இல்ல சேலம்ல போய் செட்டில் ஆயிடணும் அப்படின்ற அந்த ட்ரீமை ஷேட்டர் பண்ணணும். We should just trash all those dreams and make this boundaryless. We should create an environment where he or she should aspire for the stars right away, not to reach the cloud top, but they will go and redefine boundaries. And we as academicians, you as academicians should set that environment for them, saying your environment is not this college compound, this city, this state, it's the world at large, and boundaries are breaking today, and it's up to you and educationalists to try and break that boundaries. And that's the environment I'm talking about. The next E, I'll tell you how we set the environment. Like, this is just a case study that I want to show it to you, that you think, which is the most boring day to come to college or to office? Anybody? Monday? Anybody? Monday? After a beautiful weekend, you don't want to wake up on a Monday to even come to office. We decided that that environment has to change. So one of my proudest conceptions is this, where we try and decipher and change the way environment is perspected in our offices across the country. 175,000 people get charged up to come to office, because unlike the weekends where the pause button is pressed on you, everybody is paused, and they're all paused and sitting on a Monday morning. We try and unfreeze that button, make the play button, and welcome people to create an environment which is fun, exciting, and awesome for everybody to be a part of. And this is what happens at all my campuses of Capgemini to 2 lakh employees in the country every Monday afternoon. This happens in the cafeteria. We transform the thought of saying, oh God, it's Monday, to launch Thank God It's Monday, where every Monday in the afternoon there's a live band that plays music of employees' choice Monday after Monday, to change the environment to something more positive, vibrant. What are you doing to change the environment around you is my question with that case study. My next E that I want to talk to you about in today's terminology is equally important: experiment. Experiment is not just what we do at the chemistry labs or the physics labs. Experiment is what we do with ourselves, what we do with our students. Are we telling our students to go and just clear the papers and get to mark sheets? Are we asking them to try and do something drastically different in life? People are talking about gig economy, where it's too boring to wear one mask. Are we asking them to experiment? Be a yoga teacher in the morning, learn the guitar in the evening, do software programming in the afternoon. That's perfectly fine. Today we are opening up special gig worker concepts, which we are going to redefine and say that, if somebody is good at guitar playing, let them teach guitar in the evening. Let them be programmers in the morning. Or somebody is a yoga expert. They balance these beautiful avatars wonderfully. What are you experimenting to bring a different flavor for yourself? We experimented something like that to try and go after a much more larger than life dream. When, you need to have an audacious goal, right, to try and go and experiment. This is what we did when we experimented something at Capgemini. When 5,000 of them came together, we experimented on an idea that has never been tested and tried in the world so far. And this is what happened. Some experiments are worth talking about. This is what happened when 5,000 people like this came together. We experimented to change the environment into something more crazier.
With 4,276 people, you are now Guinness World Records holders.
So what did we do? We experimented on a simple idea to get 5,000 people and perform the largest Bollywood dance the world has ever seen till date, which is 4,200 people, judged live by the Guinness, and we created our first Guinness record. My intent of showing this to you is just not to create an applause, which you will clap for me right now, but not just that. The intent of showing this to you is not just the content of that dance, but the intent of why we do this. Why we do this is to create an audacious environment where we can experiment, where we have to go after goals which are unreasonable. If somebody comes, if people don't laugh at your dreams are not worth going after. So please set unrealistic expectations, not in terms of grades, but in terms of dreams. Go back to your students and try and make them aim for the sky. Such kind of magic will be born. That's the intent I wanted to show with you today, and that's the experiment I wanted to show with you as well. The last E, which is my favorite E that I want to talk to you about, is enjoyment, obviously. We do all of this, right? Can somebody give me a show of hands? How many colleges here teach artificial intelligence in their curriculum? Put your hand up. 30 of them. How many of you teach robotics? Put your hand up. How many of you teach data analytics? Put your hand up. How many of you teach happiness? Put your hand up. Thank you. That answers my question. Ladies and gentlemen, the most important thing to be taught, according to me and according to a lot of us, which we realize a lot more later in life, in our part of our curriculum, we take it for granted. Are we teaching happiness? Are we teaching students to be happy? Or are we teaching them to be slaves of salary slips? It's a heart-provoking thought that I want to leave you with, and I want to talk to you. This message, the last 2 minutes, is a message for each one of you, not just for your students, is my favorite 10 commandments that I talk to you about enjoyment. Enjoyment is nothing but happiness. What are you doing to create happiness for the students? If you are a happy human, you can try and transform that. And it's my message to try and translate that. I am in the process of writing a curriculum to teach happiness as one of the colleges. It's going to get approved by October, which is my life dream. Like that, I'm asking the question back to you saying, what are you creating to create a circle of happiness for the million people who are going to come out? We don't want software engineers. We need happier professionals, happier human beings, and you have a huge boon to try and create that. For that, the 10 commandments of happiness is something that I want to wrap up with, which is my 10 commandments, which appeals to me personally. I'm placing that before you. If you like any one of them, take it to you or pass it to your student. Commandment number 1. Have one dream and keep elevating yourself. Go in search of shorter dreams, but keep one dream that you want to run with. Do not run aimless. One dream. The dream could be something 6 months, 1 year down the line, but keep elevating, but have one thing that you want to go with. Commandment number 1. Number 2, do 2 things at a time. Life is too boring to be wearing one avatar. Do 2 things. Multitask. Learn photography plus learn software programming. There's no problem, but learn 2 things at a time. Multitask. Number 3, keep 3 sets of people around you all the time. 1, to compliment you. You need somebody to pat your back and say, Samaya Pandra, you're doing a great job, keep going. 1, to compliment you. 2, to compete with you. You need a great competitor who can ambitiously compete with you. It could be your college friend, it could be a school friend, but somebody who can healthily compete with you. The power of Rohit Sharma is known only when Steve Smith and Virat Kohli is around. So have good competition around you, which is number 2. Number 3, C, is somebody to coach you. You need a guiding force. It could be a father, it could be a sister, it could be a spouse, it could be a mother, somebody who can coach you and take along. Compete, complement, coach. Number 3, have 3 sets of people. Number 4, commandment number 4, do something that you love 4 days in a week. That something that you love need not be just studies. It could be something beyond. You're good in badminton. Like, I love badminton. I love sports. So when COVID started and every other sports was closed, I enrolled myself for professional badminton coaching under a state coach in Karnataka. 4 days in a week, I get excited. There's a lot of nervous blood that runs. I'm looking forward to that 90 minutes of coaching every day for 4 days in a week. Give yourself 3 days break so that you look forward to that 4 days. It could be dancing, it could be photography, it could be calligraphy, pot painting, anything. Do something that you love 4 days in a week. Number 4. Number 5, spend 5 minutes every day on something that we take it for granted, which is, when was the last time you walked up and said thank you to somebody? Appreciation. When was the last time you walked up to your kitchen and thanked your mom or dad who's cooking there to tell them that thank you for the food that you did today? When was the last time you walked up to your teacher? When was the last time you walked up to your spouse and thanked them for something that they did? We take it for granted, right? Life is too serious to be taken it for granted. Spend specific 5 minutes today. Wake up and say, today 5 minutes I'm going to appreciate X. Tomorrow 5 minutes I'm going to appreciate Y. Make that back. That appreciation will come back to you and it'll make you a happier soul as well. So commandment number 5, spend 5 minutes appreciating every day. Commandment number 6, which is something that I love. Every 6 months, elevate a new skill in your kitty. The new skill could be learning Python, artificial intelligence, robotics. The new skill can also be learning yoga, going on a hiking, learning to drive a motorbike. It could be anything. Every 6 months, learn a new skill because the world around us is changing at a faster pace. You got to run faster than what you're doing today to climb a new peak tomorrow. So every 6 months, learn a new skill. Number 7 is something that I love talking about, is read minimum 7 pages a day. I love this interview of one of my favoriteest personalities, spokesperson and leader, late Dr. Kalaignar. When somebody interviewed Dr. Kalaignar and asked him, after your death, if God allows you to go back and take one thing back and come here, will it be your DMK chief ministership post? Will it be your party president post? Or will it be all the money or the wealth? He said, it will be all the books in my library. Reading is an essential companion for the rest of your life and in fact beyond that. So inculcate reading as a way of life to all your students. 7 is the average page the world reads, so make them read 7 pages of anything. It could be biography, fiction, non-fiction, anything. But ask them to read 7 pages a day. That is number 7. Commandment number 8, spend 8 minutes of your time every day on yourself. Take care of your body because that's the only place you're going to live for the rest of your life. So spend 8 minutes of your time exercising, or even better, follow a sport. Sport teaches you some of the great things which no classroom teaches you. Sport teaches you to be competitive. Sport teaches you communication. Sport teaches you strategy. Sport teaches you the power of failure. You fail a game, you rise up and come and win the next game. So sport teaches you that brilliant thing. Number 8, spend 8 minutes on your body or follow a sport. Number 9, make a bucket list of 9 things that you want to achieve every year and go after that. It could appeal to you or your students. It could be smaller things that I want to take my mom to her favorite restaurant and eat with her. I want to take my sister to a movie all by myself, which I've never done. It could be smaller things that make a big difference in life. Make a list of 9 things which is bucket list. Don't make it 10. Double digits are scary. Make it 9 and make a list of 9 things that you want to achieve every year. Every December last week, I sit and write down 9 things I want to do every year. Life is far more dramatic. You know, we all love drama. Make that list and life will be a lot more exciting. Number 10, the last of the 10th commandment, nobody can give you a better advice than yourself because nobody knows you better. So spend 10 minutes of your time, which I call as me time, to yourself every day to plan for today and to think how yesterday has happened. That 10 minutes will make you better prepared. People just take it for granted. Sit alone for yourself and think what has happened today and how do you prepare tomorrow. Like I had this speech, I sat alone last night to think how I'm going to program. I have a show tomorrow where I'm going to be singing. So tonight when I go back, I'll sit for 10 minutes and figure out and listen to the song and practice that song. Spend that time to yourself. That 10 minutes of me time will make life a lot more magical. Lastly, this enjoyment factor. Life is a big circle. It will take you heaps and bounds and places. The belief is what that matters. So that belief, that 5 E's, will definitely make a world of difference. It's like this manager who had 20 of his teammates. He called them into a room, made them blow a balloon, write their names, place that balloon in the room and go out. And he said, go inside and find the balloon in which your name is written the fastest. All the 20 of them rushed inside the room, stamped on each other's balloon, and in 2 minutes, nobody had their balloon in their hand. Then he told them, blow the balloon, write the name, leave it there, come out, go inside, and find a balloon and give it to a person whose name is written. In 2 minutes, each of them had their balloons in their hand. Life, my friends, is like that balloon. Happiness is like that balloon. If you go and search only of yours, you'll be stamping a lot more others, and yours might be stamped already by others. But if you're responsible for somebody else finding their happiness, your balloon of happiness will come back to you instantly. So believe in that power of positivity, sow that power of happiness, it will come back to you even more better. I remember this last episode which happened in my life. I'm going to leave you all with that. Way back in 2002, when I was doing this thing, event management and serving teas here, that was the time I finished my graduation and I want to go and study an MBA. And of course, IIM was a big fancy those days and I wanted to go and enroll in a coaching center in T Nagar. So I went and asked my parents. We were not doing well that time and financially we were down. And I asked them saying, I need 6,000 rupees for the entrance coaching for 3 months at this specific coaching center because everybody goes there. And can you give me 6,000 rupees? We couldn't afford that that time. And I wouldn't say that if I had afforded that, I would have gone to the IIMs. It might be wrong. But my only chance was to go to a coaching center to study for IIMs and that dream was there. But my mom said, here are my 2 bangles. You go and keep this, get that money, and go and enroll for your coaching. But you know our mindset. Going and keeping a bangle in a jewel shop is unacceptable for us, and we won't, especially moms. So I made her retain that, and I forgot my dream of trying to apply for a coaching center, do my MBA, and then get a chance to go to the IIMs. From there, in 2002, till 2019, when I have been invited 6 times to 6 different IIMs to be spoken there, life has come a full cycle. It's only because I've believed in this journey. Remember, my friends, life has to be a fairy tale driven by happiness and dreams and not a scary tale driven by EMIs. Thank you so much for your time. I had an awesome time speaking to you. You've been a wonderful audience. Thanks a lot.